Hello, my friends. Welcome to another Reading Epic Threads live stream. October 16th, 2021, 7:51 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. And I won't be live from Houston, Texas starting Monday. I'll be live from Dallas, Texas on Monday, then Midland, Texas on Tuesday, Albuquerque, New Mexico on Wednesday, Flagstaff, Arizona on Thursday, and then I will be at the Patriot Double Down, Las Vegas, Nevada, at the Ahern Hotel in lovely Las Vegas. It will be one hell of a time. Don't miss it. I will be there streaming with some of our favorite people. Mermaid Miss K, JB White, also known as the Rattler Gator. Matthew Trump will be there. St. Richie will be there. And others. It's going to be a good time. So thanks everybody for funding this channel and everything that you've done to make all of that possible. Very much appreciate that as well. So let's talk for just a second as we wait for a few people to come on in. Let's talk about Bitcoin. All right. So just bear with me. I'm going to share this DW didn't know I was on tonight. Bruh, you're in luck. Because I am on tonight. I got your email, by the way, DW Bearden. All right, so just for grinsies, guys, I want everybody to take a look at what's going on. So I hope everybody can see this. While we wait for everybody to come in, I just want to show you what we've got here. What you see here is, for all intents and purposes, the whole history of the price of Bitcoin broken up into weekly candles. And the reason I was always so bullish about Bitcoin after the 2017 bull market is because I noticed that the price of Bitcoin tended to obey certain principles. And that principle is it tends to stay above the 50-week simple moving average. That's this red line. Okay. It tends to stay above the 50-week simple moving average during a bull market, and it tends to be below the 50-week simple moving average during a bear market. Now, for those of you who do not know, what is a simple moving average? It simply means you take the price of Bitcoin over the last 50 weeks and average each price, and then that is your current moving average. So it looks at the last 50 weeks and says, what's the average price over the last 50 weeks? Okay, that's where the red line needs to be. And the red line changes, okay? Wow, that looks really shitty. Okay, so hang on, let me blow this up. Why does it look so shitty on my screen? Anyway, all right. So, and that rule, you might notice, big time bull market, and then the bear market begins here. Now, the best place to get in, because one thing we have noticed that Bitcoin pretty much never does, okay? It doesn't really go below the 200-week moving average. That's this blue line. Now, why does it start later? Because you can't have a 200-week moving average until Bitcoin is 200 weeks old. You see how that works? 200 weeks is a long time. It's almost 4 years, okay? So it's quite a bit of history to compute in there, all right? So what I saw back in 2015 was the beginning of an incredibly long bull market. You see that? Starting here, 2015, Bitcoin at a price of $335.97 crossed over the 50-week simple moving average. And look at that shit. It just stayed above it. For how long? Dude, like over 2 years. And then it goes all the way into 2018. It hits this local maximum, 11 December 2017, 19,000 and change. And then it bounces off of it. So let's blow up. Let's look a little closer in here into 2017, okay? So we have this peak. And then it bounces off the simple moving average, the 50-week moving average. Bam! And it has a nice bounce after already going way down. But then after that little recovery, then it bounces below it and it tries to get above it and it is immediately stopped by it. Notice it really does treat these lines as resistance and support. And then bam, it goes straight to hell. By December 10th, 2018, almost exactly to the day, 1 year after the high in 2017, it taps the 200-week simple moving average. This is where you buy. Now, we had a mini bull market in 2019, a mini bull market, but then it came right back down, and then it was trying to get going for a real bull market, and then bam, March 2020, COVID, the hysteria, the madness hits, and Bitcoin drops all the way. Now, this is a wick, so this means that during that week, Bitcoin did indeed drop to this low of price, but it closed right around the 200-day simple moving average. That would have been another wonderful time to buy. And then, bam, May of 2020, it crosses back over the 50-day simple moving average. And then, bam, right around after the stolen election, it crosses a new high back above 20,000. And then it gets to an all-time high of 65,000 or so, and then massive correction. But what does it not, for all intents and purposes, go below? What does it respect? It respects this 50-day simple moving average, and it bounces off of it. And then it tries to start going down to it again, and it doesn't. And it bounces again. 3 consecutive, very, very strong weeks. I think we are now in the final stage of this bull market, which is going to be months and months. It's going to go well into 2022. But we're going to have that same, I think, not an investment advisor, we're going to have this same freakish, irrational peak. Geometrically, look at what that looks like, okay? That's not what we have here. The freakish, irrational super peak, this might be the beginning of it. Or we might be seeing it being more like, just for all intents and purposes, guys, we're going to see 6-figure Bitcoin. I'm betting we see $250,000 Bitcoin, possibly $300,000 Bitcoin before the epic crash takes place. So just those are my thoughts on the topic. The 200-week simple moving average, the 50-week simple moving average are both really, really important. All right, so how's everybody doing? Let's say hello to all of y'all. All right. 1 Alchar 2, how are you feeling? Juliet Ochieng is in the house, joining us from YouTube. Dear Whisperer, JC Bird, DW Bearden, America First USA, Mark Conway, Connie McKenzie, Memento Mori, It's Me 21, Heather P. Fiber Freak, Danch 2002, America First USA, Todo Tabien, Reaper 177676. We also have from Twitch, J Baldylocks. Hello, Juliet. Nice to have you in both locations. Bad Mofo 505, Razor Sharp, Bruce Tomaszewski, Wendy WMS, Andy Foster is in the house. Don't forget to go to usadevolution.com. Promo code Shapiro. usadevolution.com. Promo code Shapiro. Brilliant blog. Equally brilliant merch store, guys. The best t-shirts you'll ever get. PJ's 14, Richard Rohrer, Reb Mao, Karen the Patriot, Dr. J Blazer. We also have Faffy 5, Tranquility Base, Beverly Taylor, Just for Your Junk, Songbird 17, the famous Hungarians. Joe Pappas is in the house. Just Human 7 is here. Excellent. Bruno's mom is here. Yes, Joe Pappas joins us from YouTube. I know it works a little better, guys, but you really help me out by being here on Twitch. And you also really help by subscribing. Guys, thank you so much for those of you who have subscribed to me. Eileen325, if I missed anybody, I'm so sorry. Izzy in, Freelance, D-Berg. All right, we're good with intros. I got my first Twitch paycheck. It's pretty freaking cool, guys. So thank you so much for subscribing on Twitch. Those of you who subscribed early on using your Amazon Prime account, you got to re-up. So just to let you know, I would really appreciate it. Those of you who did subscribe using Amazon Prime, thank you very much in advance for re-upping. Thank you indeed very, very much. Okay, so what do you say we hop right into it? First, I almost forgot, one of the things you got to do, guys, is you got to stay healthy. And I stay healthy using Isagenix supplements, vitamins, all the good stuff. And one of the things I can't recommend strongly enough is a little thing called collagen elixir from Isagenix, ret.isagenix.com, ret.isa, Genix, Genix.com. I put this bad boy in apple juice. Collagen helps you maintain strong joints and all of the epithelial elasticity that keeps us looking young. Furthermore, the Isagenesis essential vitamins from Isagenix, I take 1 pack of these in the morning, 1 pack of these in the evening, and I have never in my adult life felt better. So thanks to Jason All for getting me introduced to that. And those of you who would like to support this channel, get your supplements, get all that good stuff from RET, Reading Epic Threads, .isagenix.com. Special Ops Kim drinks it straight because she's a bit of a badass. What do you say we go ahead and get started with all this good stuff? We also have a St. Richie Once Daily, my friends. So let's go ahead, rocking and rolling. I would like to to read a testimonial from Sailing Mom. Linda, thank you so much. Sailing Mom says, our awesome friend and fellow patriot, Jason Beamish, sent this to me for my son's 10-year-old grandson who has an obsession with sharks. Let's look at that, shall we? Metalonwood.com. Metalonwood.com. He was thrilled to hang this in his room. Jason did a wonderful job on this piece, and he has some incredible pieces on his website. I encourage everyone to buy American Made. MAGA, Linda K, aka Sailing Mom 728. Check out the Metal on Wood, my friends. Check it out. Metalonwood.com. I don't know if he has promo code Shapiro set up or anything, but he is a great patriot, guys. Big time great patriot. Okay, so now, my friends, shall we, just for fun, get into some epic threads? We're going to start with David Bearden. Let me see what the length of this is. So, oh, you know what? This is probably, is this something I can play on the stream, DW Bearden? Alice back in Wonderland. 18 minutes. 18 minutes. Little long. I should have checked on the timestamp. But thank you, David Bearden. I'll check this out later. Okay, so we're going to start with something from Laura Kaiser. From Seamus. Long post here. Hope it resonates with people. The main reason for devolution, in my opinion, was the reunification of our country after decades of social and cultural stratification and division that, even though it was present prior to 1968, truly picked up steam in the late part of the 1960s. Without the process that is currently unfolding, we would not have been able to witness and experience how far our country has fallen, how deep the corruption has gotten, and how it permeates almost all aspects of our lives. We are, in a sense, watching a societal suicide. It is being done by a group and a class of people who have run our country's institutions, governments, corporations, and religious groups. It is these people who have latched on to the belief that only through destroying most of humanity can they retain their hold on power. However, this thirst for power, for power's sake, is all-consuming. And it is they who are destroying themselves. Those in our country who believe these people to be our betters are dutifully following them off the cliff. This winter will be very tough, probably not since the depths of the bond crisis / Great Depression in 1932, 1933, will we as a country experience on a societal scale massive deprivation and suffering. It is through this shared experience of pain, though, that we will unify this country in a way that no other person or event ever could. We will come out of this stronger and more resilient than ever before, but it will be the crucible of crucibles. God bless. I think it will be a crucible, but I think it'll be relatively short. So take that into account, my dear friends. All right. So I got a lot of road trip ahead of me, guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. What did Sydney post in Telegram? Reaper 1776676? I don't know. All right. So yeah, I got a big road trip coming up, my friends. It's going to be crazy fun. I hope as many of you as possible will tune in, because we will be broadcasting from the Patriots Double Down. We're going to figure out a way to get it out to you guys, some kind of honor system of going ahead and donating $1,776 to, no, sorry, $17.76 to watch it live, and then we'll try to gather and do a big watch party. I'll set it up on my laptop, and then I'll actually be at the event, so I'll be doing both simultaneously. It'll all be super duper cool. All right. From Charles Bernardin. This is a very good article by Patrick Byrne. When Trump declared the Insurrection Act in early January of this year, he drew his first line in the sand. Maricopa is his second line. So this article is quite long, so I'm not going to read it for this stream, but I'm just going to give you a few highlights from it because it's pretty great. I'm going to read the intro. All right, a couple things. Patrick Byrne, Dear Congress, I called for peaceful DC rallies January 4th through 6th. Please invite me in. Okay. 1. I sincerely regret the emotional trauma some of you experienced when 1/1000th of the January 6th rally turned unruly. That was surely an ethical, tactical, and strategic error of those involved. Please accept my condolences for the fear and trauma any of you experienced on January 6th in the U.S. Capitol at the hands of any in the MAGA movement. All right, here we go. A, canvas. A 4,500-person interview door-to-door canvas was disclosed 2 weeks ago. The canvassing organization asked 5 benign questions, none of which were any form of "for whom did you vote?" They report that citizens welcomed their interviews overwhelmingly, providing robust documentation asking, "What took you so long?" 1. Maricopa has 2.6 million registered voters, of whom 2.1 million voted November 3rd. Guys, is that not approximately 80% turnout? Just saying. 1. Thus, 500,000 did not vote. 1.2. Yet of the 500,000 people who did not vote, approximately 170,000, 34%, think they did vote. Many are adamant, telling stories about driving to the polls or mailing their ballots and providing witnesses. Many have given affidavits to this effect. 1.3. It thus appears that approximately 170,000 Maricopans experienced voter suppression. 2. Of 2.1 million Maricopa voters who voted, per the records, approximately 100,000 are ghosts. The humans do not exist, which explains such arcane mysteries as 52 ballots being mailed from a 2-bedroom home or ballots being mailed from empty sandlots. 3. Another 30,000 ballots, which people say they voted in person, do not show up, but those same 30,000 people show up as having voted by mail. What happened to their in-person votes, and from whence came their vote-by-mail votes? 4. In sum, at the low end of the estimate, the Maricopa County canvass reveals at least approximately 300,000 suppressed votes and stuffed ballots. And at the high end, the estimate is over 400,000. That is to say, 15 to 20% of the votes in Maricopa County were either suppressed or stuffed. This swamps the outcome of 12 down ballot races, 2 of which were Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, who won by tiny margins and who have since spent their time attacking the audit. The Maricopa rig also swamped the presidential race in Arizona, which was decided by 10,457 votes. B. The forensic audit of ballots. Cyber Ninjas delivered its audit last week. 1. Maricopa deleted 1 million election files the day before turning their equipment over. 2. What was left did not tick and tie, i.e. reconcile, with itself or anything else. 3. The digital images of 284,412 ballots are corrupted, so those ballots are unverifiable. 4. VM55, final vote file, has 255,326 early votes lacking EV33 received votes entries. Very simple. They were sent. We don't have any record of them being received. They were received. We don't have any record of them being sent. 5. There are at least 57,734 ballots with illegal provenance, e.g., voters who moved out of state decades ago still having ballots returned from their former addresses. 6. There are 34,448 unambiguously illegal photocopies from 17,126 voters. 7. There were 15 other felonies occurred whose effects cannot be quantified. 8. Signature legibility flipped. 4 weeks before the election, 95% of signatures legible versus 5% illegible. 4 days after the election, votes, signatures 5% legible and 95% illegible. 9. Thousands of ballot envelope images show approval stamps behind the graphics, suggesting the stamps were printed on the envelopes, establishing premeditation. 10. A 25% surge in duplicates from November 4th through November 9th. 11. There were 1,919 blank signatures stamped as approved. 12. There were 587 bad signatures, etc., etc., etc. 26. Improper paper utilized. A large number of in-person ballots used paper not recommended by the manufacturer or the tabulators. High bleed-through rates, out of calibration ballot printers, audit interference, etc., etc., etc. Our craven and reading comprehension challenged mainstream media laughably summarizes this pig's breakfast. Maricopa audit shows Biden still won by 10,800 votes. Good luck making that stick. 6. The Attorney General of Arizona, Mark Brnovich, is not so reading comprehension challenged as the mainstream media. We already knew that because of the fine brushback pitch he threw at the United States Department of Justice in June, reminding them about who created whom and where the Constitution assigns discretion to manage elections. This Monday, Attorney General Brnovich continued to demonstrate his literacy by sending a muscular letter to the Senate requesting the entire production of the Maricopa audit and sending a serious as a heart attack letter to Maricopa County telling them to preserve their records. Taken together, this means the efforts by Rhino establishment of Arizona to throttle down the Senate report were for naught. It all goes to the Attorney General. Everyone goes for broke. They lay their cards on the table. A man with a badge, a gun, and an ambition comes through the door. Deep captures 15-year arc apogees and bursts in the opening of Götterdämmerung. Twilight of the Gods. Anyway, he's being all fancy. 7. Since November 10th, 2020, I have been calling for the ballot boxes to be opened in 6 counties, those holding Las Vegas, Phoenix, Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta, predicting that one would find between 300 and 600,000 votes of election fraud in each of them. In only one of the 6 did investigation come to pass, Maricopa County, Arizona, and the number of fake and suppressed votes comes to 300 to 400,000 per a canvass that was conducted, or 15 to 20% of the ballots cast, and similarly, somewhere in the low hundreds of thousands per a forensic audit. To any rational person who is open to evidence, this is a settled Question. Of course you'd say that, Byrne. I hear the chogies cry. I don't know what a chogie is. With Maricopa, you're batting 1,000 and we're batting 0. So out of good sportsmanship, I offer double or nothing. Choose from the other 5 cities, chogies. I'll organize funding and we'll do it again. But perhaps the election fraud denial camp might practice a moment of sportsmanship themselves and realize what their denialism has cost us as a nation. Perhaps it is time they let us move on to the next step. Now that we know the truth of Maricopa, citizens everywhere are reflecting on all the institutions of society that asked them to dismiss these claims as baseless. Department of Homeland Security and CISA, the most secure election in history, the state courts, the DOJ, the FEC, mainstream media, and politicians of all stripes. They were wrong. The Maricopa ballot boxes were at least 15% and perhaps as much as 20% suppressed and stuffed, as an extensive canvass revealed and a Senate-organized audit has corroborated. It was high-tech ballot stuffing and suppression, no doubt, but no different in principle than the Tammany Hall of yesteryear. The presidential race in Arizona was decided by 10,457 votes, of which we now know over 57,000 votes were illegal and several 100,000 may have been fake. If we ignore this, then we should dispense with this whole charade and recognize that we are ushering in an unelected uniparty of elites to preside over a Hunger Games world. Otherwise, perhaps it is time for the election fraud denial camp to pipe down a bit, along with all the institutions of society that dismissed, canceled, and threatened tens of millions who saw the truth immediately and fought for it to be revealed. Which brings us back to Congress. The mystery of what happened at the Capitol on January 6th remains unsolved, and I welcome honest congressional investigation into its origins. But since Congress is making such a production out of finding that origin, and since that origin is partially with me in that I publicly echoed calls for peaceful assembly on January 4th through 6th, and since I am also he who helped Arizona's citizens nurture the conditions of the Maricopa audit into existence and arrange the better part of its funding, and this Maricopa audit vindicates the concerns of the January 6th rally goers, I thought it only right and proper that I offer to meet to address any questions or concerns you may have. Please be forewarned that I will take these 2 additional positions. Those who suppressed and stuffed Maricopa ballot boxes 15 to 20%, thus flipping Arizona's 11 electoral votes and swinging 22 electoral votes, are the real insurrectionists. They betrayed our Constitution, not the citizens who saw through the scheme that has now been exposed in Arizona, and which I am confident would be exposed in 5 other states if other audits went forward, saw the import of a hijacked national election and held a rally, some minute fraction of whom grew unruly from lack of discipline or from agitation, as honest congressional inquiry would discover. 2. That horrible fear you experienced on January 6th at the hands of those unruly and misguided protesters and whatever agent provocateur existed amongst the crowd and police. That crippling insecurity that traumatized you, you are now visiting on hundreds of millions of other citizens because they are afraid. That is because they get the joke. Only 31% of Americans will tell a pollster they believe Biden won fair and square, while 69% say that fraud was significant, very significant, or that they are unsure. And that was before this fortnight's news about Maricopa's canvassing results and forensic audit. So, over 2/3 of Americans believe they face an administration of dubious legitimacy, which, since the day it entered office, has seemed unusually keen to make 3 changes. 1, to change election law to disrupt constitutional tenets, e.g., states manage their elections, but would forever enable Maricopa-style election fraud nationwide. 2, to change the electorate by jamming through the citizenship of tens of millions. 3, to change the Supreme Court by stacking it so it sprinkles holy water on this mess. Naturally enough, 69% of the citizenry smells skunk. In addition, the aversion of the mainstream media to treating any of this with a modicum of intellectual honesty has led anyone with an IQ above room temperature to suspect that we are living through an engineered reality. That's why it feels weird, I assure all. It is supposed to be weird. The price to exit weird is to accept a new engineered reality where 15 to 20% ballot stuffing is gaslit as baseless. The price to exit weird and regain normal is let our constitutional republic die. So, just tell me when, and I'll come. I don't need a lawyer. Let's skip a few steps and meet most cordially and respectfully Patrick M. Byrne. Just to make sure everybody knows, that's the guy that Saul Mantis Bradley says is our enemy. How many of you, how early did you guys figure out Saul Mantis Bradley was human filth? Just saying. Just want to get that out there. You know who else is human filth? Scott Adams. Now a vaccine pushing, child marrying scumbag. Thank you very much, Charles P. Bernardin. All right. Next, Andre. Thanks to Special Ops Kim. And then St. Richie Once Daily. But first, Andre. Oh, guys, real quick, just wanted to say I'm going to be doing the advertisement for how you go about using your Amazon Prime subscription. So just be prepared for that. Ooh, hang on. Razor sharp, big comment. Virginia's governor's race has everyone's attention. Steve Bannon and his crew and the head of America's Voice had a rally here, and President Trump called in. Crowd went wild. Stacey Abrams is coming here tomorrow to speak to a church with McAuliffe and Obama. Will be here next week for McAuliffe. Tight race. Pray for Virginia. We have a baby executioner for a governor now. Furthermore, look into Terry McAuliffe's cousin, Sharon A. McAuliffe. Sharon A. McAuliffe. Check out his cousin, Sharon. You're welcome. Thread by Andre. I recently had an exchange with the Dodger Princess on Telegram regarding Trump's position/response to the COVID jabs. I've been thinking about this exchange and decided to do a thread on the topic. I've seen many people raise a concern about the rapidly evolving problems that vaccine requirements are inflicting on lots of people, especially those in the military and healthcare workers. Trump has been consistent in this regard. The jabs are a matter of personal choice. I have never heard Trump suggest that anyone should be required to accept these jabs if they choose not to. More problematic for many and for me is Trump's record of support for the vaccines. I have come to the conclusion that it is highly likely that the spike protein is an engineered bioweapon and that the various jabs are a means to introduce these toxins into the body. How can Trump remain silent on the rapidly growing mountain of evidence showing just how ineffective and hazardous these jabs really are? How can Trump be silent when so many are suffering medical side effects and or the effects of terrible vaccine mandates and requirements? How can he allow our military, our healthcare, and so many other critical professions be hollowed out like this? Well, it is clear to me that this is an utterly unsustainable situation. The damage to our national defense and economy simply cannot continue for very long without crippling the nation for generations. That the situation is so dire is a major reason why I think that Trump's counterattack is imminent. I do not see how we can survive until the start of 2025 to start getting the nation back on the rails again. Something needs to be done fast, and if it does not happen soon, we are in for protracted dark days indeed. Most people start with Operation Warp Speed. They interpret this program as an indicator that the jabs, especially the mRNA products, are Trump's vaccines. This is untrue. Trump was not involved in the development or the trials involved with these products. Operation Warp Speed's primary effect was to disrupt the timeline intended with these products. Dwayne Cates has commented many times on what was supposed to happen. Hillary was supposed to win, COVID was supposed to be launched, and very long periods of lockdown, perhaps more than a year or even two, were supposed to crush the economy, especially the middle class, and allow the USA to follow the neo-fascists' global plans for the Great Reset. The vaccines would then be trundled out as a means to emerge from the society and economy-crushing lockdowns, and the world would enter an era of medical tyranny with endless boosters and a CCP-style surveillance and social credit scoring system. Given the efficiency that the jabs have for killing people and inflicting lifespan-reducing ailments, I am increasingly of the suspicion that a eugenic agenda is a component of the Great Reset. Trump disrupted all of that. Now, neo-fascist governments like the one in New Zealand, where I'm writing this, are scrambling to get as many people jabbed, to institute vaccine passports, etc., as quickly as they can, even as the wheels are falling off of their plan as we watch. You can even see them reaching back to their old, reliable propaganda and fear-mongering tool of climate change, almost as if they themselves already know that the expiry of the COVID scam is upon them. But many wonder, how could Trump allow these terrible poisons to be foisted upon us? How could he let all of this bad stuff happen? Let us remember that Trump is not omniscient. He is a brilliant and resourceful man, but he does not have superpowers. Trump came to office in 2017 and immediately entered a siege presidency. He would have known about lots of secret squirrel stuff via his personal intelligence network, and he would have learned about lots more when he became president. But there are still many secrets in this world, some of which were unknown to Trump in 2019. I have seen abundant evidence that suggests that the development of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, including the spike protein bioweapon, was happening for years before Trump came into office. I have seen evidence, patents, etc., that suggests the mRNA delivery systems for the spike protein bioweapon were well on their way years before Trump came to office. Given this evidence, and given the cozy relationship between the CCP and Fauci, I think it is reasonable to conclude that not only was COVID planned a long time ago, it was kept very secret, especially from Trump. I think that Fauci outsourced the gain-of-function research to Wuhan not only to get around the law prohibiting it in the USA, he did it to wrap a shroud of secrecy around the work that was being done to prepare for the launch of COVID, the jabs, and the medical tyranny that was to follow. So Trump comes to office, is instantly besieged, and COVID lands on his lap. He quickly apprehends that it is coming from China and institutes travel restrictions. He takes advice from CDC, FDA, etc., and is advised that the world faces a potentially epic pandemic and the most promising vaccine technology is some years away. In a typically Trumpian manner, and likely seeing the social engineering they intend to perform in connection with COVID, he finds a way to put vaccine development into high gear with Operation Warp Speed. Recall, firstly, that Warp Speed was never intended by Trump to yield jabs for all. It was to yield jabs for the vulnerable so the world could open back up. And then, think back to the flow of information. In February, March of 2020, the idea that COVID was caused by a man-made virus was not widespread. What was out there, as I recall, was not anything like what we know now. I do not recall seeing anything suggesting that it was the spike protein itself, as opposed to other virus as a whole, that was the engineered bioweapon. I do not think that Trump knew at the time that the vaccines were rolled out that they themselves were the weapons delivery system. Early on, Trump stated clearly that he thought the jabs were safe and effective for vulnerable populations who chose to use them. He never said jab kids. He never said jab kids. He never said require the military to take them. Trump also took care to mention the emerging range of therapeutics that could be used to fight COVID, especially HCQ. If these therapeutics were permitted to prove themselves, it would have been the end of the emergency use authority for the jabs and thus could not be tolerated. HCQ and the other therapeutics were and remain heavily suppressed. Why didn't Trump push back harder on the therapeutics? Why did he not raise the alarm when the spike protein revealed its true nature? At this point, we come to what must have been and remains a terribly difficult strategic decision for Trump. He knows therapeutics can save lives, and he now knows that the jabs are causing terrible harm in populations for which they were never intended. Why is he not shouting about this from the rooftops? Trump has gone on record many times stating that the jabs should be a matter of personal choice and that kids should never receive them. He has spoken about the power of natural immunity and the efficacy of therapeutics. If you did not hear him doing this, you were not listening. And most people, especially those on the left, do not listen to Trump. In fact, the louder Trump yells about all of this, the more it would be used to coerce people into accepting the jabs. But I think there is a larger and more important reason that Trump is not taking a loud, leading role on the question of the safety or mandating of the jabs. Recall Dwayne Cates stating his opinion that Trump left Fauci in place to destroy him. I agree completely. Fauci and his ilk, along with his lapdog Biden, now own every death, adverse effect, and job loss associated with this neo-fascist eugenicist genocide. But Trump's target is not merely Fauci. Fauci is a figurehead. I think that Trump's target is the whole thing. Big Pharma, Big Vax, the people they work for, the CCP, the global financiers, the monopoly robber barons, the whole neo-fascist edifice. I have read more than just a few articles documenting the fact that Big Pharma/Vax are owned by the same people who own the MSM. These globalist neo-fascists own the monopoly corporations that were to be the big winners in the Great Reset. Trump is, I believe, not merely aiming to get back into the Oval Office. He's not going to be content with just draining the DC swamp. He is playing to make Earth great again. To do this, he has to take on and win against all of the big-time bad guys all over the entire planet. How will he do this? I think that he is going to do with COVID exactly the same thing he's going to do with the 2020 election. He is going to use the very apparatus designed to inflict the Great Reset upon us to destroy those who would send us all to this fate. With the 2020 election, the utterly corrupted engineered systems used are the ultimate weakness. If the entire election apparatus was never operated in a certifiable manner, and if the actual result is so corrupted, manipulated, deleted, etc., that in many places the actual result is unrecoverable, then it may be that the entire election in all 50 states just vanishes in an instant. Poof. Gone. Then the states and SCOTUS get together and do something creative and constitutional, and the USA ship of state sails on. I think that something similar is coming for Fauci, the CCP, and the globalist neo-fascists everywhere, attempting to use medical tyranny to implement the Great Reset. Trump has spoken about reparations from China in connection with the COVID mess. Reparations are generally imposed at a time of surrender and are accepted by the defeated as a condition that allows them to avoid annihilation. We do not see the CCP surrendering yet, so I think that there are some steps to be taken, some items on Trump's checklist to be ticked off before we get to the point where he can extract reparations from a defeated enemy. I think that Trump is largely quiet, if not silent, on matters involving the jab, its mandates, and its effects, because that is exactly where he intends to strike. Sun Tzu teaches that all war is deception. If Trump intends to use COVID and the jabs to destroy Big Pharma, Big Vax, and the mainstream media and monopoly corporations owned by the very rich and very stupid people who try to drive us all into global neo-fascism, he is not going to show it by rising to the battle prematurely. Recall the Hermit's description of World War I German counter-assault troops and tactics. First, you allow the enemy to take some of your trenches. you leave them unmolested until they become very comfortable in their new home. Then, without warning, huge 6-foot-plus troops attack the flanks with terrifying speed and violence. Then, once the flanks are fully engaged, an even more violent frontal attack from these giant and highly trained troops overwhelms the enemy and recaptures the trenches used as a deadly trap. It is critical that the enemy become very comfortable in their captured trenches. The flank attacks must happen with complete surprise. Right now, the neo-fascists are using their mainstream media mouthpieces to spin propaganda as fast and as loudly as possible as they struggle to stay ahead of the ballooning data and analysis showing how terrible the spike protein products produced really are. They are fully engaged maintaining appearances. This is the time just before the flank attacks take place. I fully expect that the attack on the 2020 election and the attack on the COVID criminals, pharma, mainstream media, big tech, etc., to happen at almost the exact same moment. Trump is being quiet, not because he's letting them get away with inflicting COVID jabs, medical tyranny, etc. upon us. Trump is quiet because the attack is coming. It is going to be a global, comprehensive, and devastating attack. It is coming because it has to. If we are to preserve the military, if we are to limit the damage of the jabs, if we are to have a recognizable society, it needs to happen very soon, as in before the end of the year. Red October leading to a happy Thanksgiving. If it does not happen in time for a Merry Christmas, then I believe we are in for a long and very dark battle for the future of our children and grandchildren. I pray that my sense of an impending flank attack on many fronts is correct, because the alternative is difficult for me to think about. Once the COVID tyrants are defeated, I expect that we will see wide popularization and distribution of therapeutics that will mitigate some of the damage caused by the jabs, the Zelenko protocol, NAC, etc. But it is inescapable that we are in World War III and that casualties are being taken every second that goes by. I pray for the families and the communities that are suffering the most right now. Military families are looking at losing stellar careers of unflinching service and even prosecution as a result of a refusal to accept the jabs. Children are in hospitals with life-shortening cardiac damage. Jobs are being lost by the millions. We need this World War III's D-Day, and we need it soon. Let us all pray for the best, even as we prepare for the worst. I am putting away some weeks of food and other supplies, water filters. I am refusing to comply with vaccine campaigns for myself and my children. I am ready. You should be too. Be ready for Trump's tomorrow and for the possibility of a much longer fight if needed. Remember how bad it looked at Valley Forge. MAGA. Mega. We caught them all. Addendum. It seems like the neo-fascists here in New Zealand are very worried about late October, early November. There's a huge push on for the jabs, including a telethon-style program nationwide today to try to get more people jabbed than on any other day before. The urgency, even desperation exhibited here in New Zealand seems to align with something happening in the coming weeks. It seems the whole globalist neo-fascist machine is scrambling, rushing, even panicking for some reason. Maybe they know it's coming. All right, guys, I'm about to do St. Richie once daily. But before I do that, I'd like to remind all of you that you have the ability to subscribe to this Twitch channel for free using your Amazon Prime account. Now, some people don't know how to do that, but that's why my baby sister made a video explaining exactly how to do it step by step, and it goes a little something like this.
Is how to sign up to Patrick's channel in Twitch. with your Prime membership. So you get one free Twitch subscription with Prime. And a lot of us have Prime. Might as well support Pat doing that. So I was a little confused, so I thought maybe others might be confused. So I have this cool technology that can record my screen. Don't look at the stuff I'm shopping for. Okay, so just go to your accounts and lists and go, this is in Amazon, and go to your Prime membership. And then you can go to explore my benefits. And I just did a search for Twitch, and then it takes you to Prime Gaming. And then in this area, you can actually connect your Twitch account. And there should be like, right in this area, there should be like a connect your Twitch account. And I did that. So that's why it looks like this. So then I was like clicking around trying to subscribe, and I did a search for Patrick, and it doesn't come up with anything. And so I was confused, and I was badgering Patrick, and he's like, I don't know, I just did it. And I'm like, you're dumb. So basically we figured out that what you do is you go to Twitch. So I went to Twitch, and in here it doesn't have like subscribe free, which is what Pat was saying it should say. So what you do is you actually click so this is Pat's channel, it's pgunnels. You click subscribe, 20% off. You scroll down, and it looks like you have to pay, but actually, if you click this little checkbox, you can then subscribe with Prime. And after that, I have no experience. So if you do have experience, if you have to like do it every month or something, I don't know. I imagine not, but just comment in the comments after Pat posts this video if you have any more experience beyond that. All right?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching that. And to those of you who find one way or another to support me by subscribing on Twitch, I very much appreciate that. It helps more than you can possibly know. It's really great. All right, so without further ado, my friends. Oh, hang on. Okay, so Patrick, the previous article adopts the common fallacy that the COVID numbers were cooked and the vaccine adverse event counts were not. We allow our bias to get in the way, so we start asking, why would Trump not sound the alarm on the vaccines? Trump spun the vaccines in order to fight something that never existed. But the narrative war requires a vaccines are bad and they are forcing them upon us theme that carries into 2022. That is imperative to patriots coalescing for the midterms. Agreed, St. Richie. I was going to say pretty much what you just said, almost word for word, but I would have boiled it down to the fallacy in this case is mistaking what counts as evidence. Anything the CDC posts should not be treated as evidence. Patents should not be treated as evidence. These are not evidence of anything. These are people telling you stories. That's all I wanted to say about that. Okay. People telling you stories, I don't count that as evidence. Sorry, especially when you don't know the people. Like, I consider Spirit Fox's study of the vaccines to be real evidence. I consider my own acquaintances who have taken the vax to be real evidence. Anything coming from the CDC should be treated as disinformation. Therefore, theirs should be treated as disinformation. It's real simple. And this whole confirmation bias thing, watching it in real time, turn us all into crazy people, it's unnerving. Okay. Oh, you know what Wade's saying from Australia? Queensland, Australia is now pairing up with the hardware store called Bunnings, setting up in their car parks, jabbing people, and then they get a hot dog as well. Fucking Australia. Whatever. All right. It's time for St. Richie Once Daily, my friends. Let's do this thing. Bam. All right. A little something for this Saturday evening. When faced with the prospect of reality, let's see if I can do that. Yeah. When faced with the prospect of reality, we often find the caricature of ourselves that we've built up versus our real self are often different people. In our virtual reality, we rule our world and nobody can take that away. For person A, the gap between two persons is huge, and for person B, they are nearly identical. Does this mean that person B has more integrity or is more genuine? Perhaps. But when placed on the actual battlefield versus the battlefield of the mind, it can be difficult to predict how one might respond. But we need to be quick to listen and slow to judge because some have so much more to lose than others. There is every combination of scenario. Some of you are single with few expenses. Some of you are the primary provider in a family of 5 or 6 with multiple kids in school. Some of you have parents or other loved ones that depend on your income for their survival. The number of potential scenarios is wide-ranging, so we need to consider that in our conversation. In our conversations with others. I would be rich if I had a dime for every time I heard someone say, well, God says he won't give us more than we can handle. Nowhere in Scripture are those words stated. However, God does say he will not give us more than what is common to man. In other words, whatever you're going through right now, it's 100% guaranteed. There are multiple people out there going through something very similar, if not much worse. Does this diminish your plight? Most certainly not. Most certainly not. But it should put it in perspective. On Friday, I will fly out to Las Vegas to attend the Patriot Double Down, where I will meet many people for the first time, including Patrick and others, and I'm looking forward to it, to be sure. However, today I spoke to the couple putting on the event to check in on some lodging logistics, and I was struck by the tone of their voices. Calm, yet slightly, a little nervous, perhaps. The nervousness that comes from knowing you're putting on an event that requires you to be almost covert in planning and executing what takes place. The wife said, you find out who will really stick by your side during times like these. I told them I am really looking forward to meeting them and that I will be praying that God gives them the calm and perfect strength required to make this event truly successful. The wife nearly burst into tears, and I could tell at that moment God gave her the energy she needed to finish the day. I was reminded that we have free will and that God doesn't waste cycles trying to make those that are clearly able also willing, but rather he specializes in making those that are willing able. He gives people the words they need at the exact moment they need them. I, like many, am faced with the coming moments in this time of tyranny where I will either stand for what matters at the risk of losing everything or fall in line. Everything is a relative term. Everything for you may be preserving your job. Everything for you may be making sure you don't lose your house. When you think about it, if you're not at some point willing to stand for what really matters, haven't you lost everything already? I guess the real question is, what is everything to you? And that is St. Richie, once daily, my dear friends. And what a great reminder. It never says anywhere in Scripture, God won't give you anything you can't handle. He won't give you anything that isn't common to man. Your plight is not unique. And you are being oppressed, especially, got Wade here in Australia. They're being oppressed in a big, big way. All right. My dear friends. So it is tough being a sane person amongst the throngs of insanity. That said, it is also a great honor. Glory be to God. Right there with you, Frodo Tolkien. Almost guarantee you, my friend, I'll be watching the extended edition of The Two Towers while I'm on this road trip. All right. Richard Rohr points out something interesting. Notice that there are no vaccine commercials on TV because by law they're required to list adverse effects. That could be the reason. That absolutely could be the reason. But there are no ads. That's nuts. And not FDA approved. Guys, I bet you didn't know that we still have some of these amazing Patriot coins. Reading Epic Threads edition. Keep charging Midnight Riders, Godspeed Patriots, and a list of some of our beloved contributors. James MG at Verizon.net. James MG at Verizon.net. And we also have the General Flynn's 17th Information Warfare Division coins. We don't have the first one. Those are sold out. But James MG at Verizon.net, they're only $15 a piece. This is a piece of history, my friends. You'll be able to pull out this coin when your grandchild says, Grandma, Grandpa, What did you do in the great strange war? Well, you won't have to say, I shoveled shit in Louisiana. All right, my friends, I've got some road trip work to get done. Free Patriot. Do I know when St. Richie will release 57? I think it's 56. Yeah, 57's coming. Not 100% sure when it's coming out, though. I usually get told a few days in advance. All right. I did hear a vaccine ad on the radio today, but oddly not specifically for the COVID vaccine. Very interesting. All right, guys. Some getting ready for trip stuff I got to do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pray, and I'm going to see everybody tomorrow. Thanks everybody for being here. Oh, and one last thing. Is there a power hour tonight that I need to raid? Let's see here. Oh, guys, Patel Patriot. Let's raid Patel Patriot together, shall we? Sound good? All right, let's do it. Raiding Patel Patriot. And then I will pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.
And goodbye to all of y'all. I'll see you tomorrow, too.